This report changes everything for the Bears. Bears insider Courtney Cronin released an article this morning regarding Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams' massive growing connection. Welcome to Bears Digest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Dylan Guinzy. Thank you for joining me once again. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. Be sure to hit that bell. It is free to stay up to date on news, rumors, information as it comes to us. I'll be here with you every single time those information items come out to us. So today, guys, what we're going to discuss is Courtney Cronin's article that she released for ESPN. She is one of the best Bears insiders you will ever find. She is very, very tapped in with the Bears. I would argue the most tapped in reporter and insider for the Chicago Bears. She talks directly with Caleb and Ben every single week. And this article is very important, man, and it changes a lot for the Bears and how we view the future of this team and the trajectory of this team as well. So we're going to discuss that here today and break down all the points within it. So Courtney Cronin released this article here today. We'll talk about the excerpt here, the beginning of the article, and then we'll kind of dive into the nitty-gritty details. So Las Vegas, as the Chicago Bears offense prepared to take the field at Allegiant Stadium, down by 5 with 6:45 to play. During Chicago's 25-24 win against the Las Vegas Raiders, Coach Ben Johnson pulled quarterback Caleb Williams close. Inside a stadium packed with 62,242 screaming fans, this moment was contained to just Johnson and Williams. The Bears coach put his play sheet close to his mouth to privatize a conversation that didn't last for more than a couple of seconds but accumulated with a message the quarterback took to heart before delivering his first game-winning drive of the season. So, what was said there? Ben Johnson, I said, this is what you're built for. And these are the moments that he thrives in the most, Ben Johnson said. I think that's really been the story of his life, to be honest with you. And I know he came through for us in a big way. Caleb, in short, about Ben Johnson and what he said to him and that confidence that instilled in him, he provided relief and the confidence he has in me. Williams said, from there, I went into the huddle and looked everybody in the eyes. This is the moment. This is where we go and win the game. So, guys, I mean, obviously this quote, we have heard about this, especially in the press conference and everything after the game. This relationship is really, really blossoming between Caleb and Ben. They're starting to figure each other out as much as you possibly can. And this relationship is going to keep on going and keep breeding into itself like you see with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, like you see with Josh Allen and Sean McDermott even. These relationships that are built are so important for success of a team. And I'm not saying Caleb Williams is those quarterbacks yet or anything, but that relationship is so important. And that trust that they have between one another and the most important facets of your team is your quarterback and your coach in today's game. And that's just the reality of the situation. That's how it works. And that relationship continuing to blossom is huge for Chicago. Everybody before the season, media, even some of our beat reporters, everybody was just discussing about how Ben and Caleb just don't fit together. Their personalities are different. They're going to clash. It's not going to be a good mix or match. And, all this and that, right? It's going to be similar to Adam Gase back in the day, everything like that. And it's just not going to be a fit. And Caleb is going to be out the door in no time. And as we're seeing right now, we're already 4 weeks in. And clearly there's things to work on for the Bears, but that relationship is really growing. And we're going to talk about that some more here just throughout this article and kind of what was said there from Courtney Cronin. So there are plenty of questions the Bears hope to find answers for during the bye. Who will be Chicago's starting left tackle in Week 6? Theo Benedette, I would imagine. Why pre-snap penalties continue to plague the offense, and how the Bears can fix the league's worst run defense, which has allowed 164.5 yards per game. But one area the Bears have already seen results is the relationship with Johnson and Williams. The interaction with Johnson late in the Raiders game reinforced to Williams that the type of coaching he has received is working, right? There's one thing to, say things in the preseason or, get the head coaching job and you say one thing, maybe actually do another. And then Caleb saying he wants hard coaching, and then it gets to it, and then maybe he doesn't. He kind of shuts off, or his ego's kind of getting in the way. None of that has happened at all. Ben Johnson has came in there and he's been truthful. He's been hard on Caleb. He's been hard on everybody. not just him. And it is, it's speaking volumes to everybody and all of the players that he means business and he knows what he's doing. And if you just kind of follow his lead and follow what this coaching staff is building for you, you're going to see that on the field. And, we're 500 right now. We've won 2 games, and there's a lot to work on, as, we mentioned there, a couple of those items in the article. But as you fix those as you go and you start to play your best football towards the end of the season, that stuff kind of goes away or at least diminishes a little bit. You're going to see some surprising wins, I would imagine, toward the later half of this season. Maybe some wins that, you didn't expect this team to make or to finish off, before this season started. And, that's really all you can ask for. If we end 7-10 and the offense is fixed and there's a couple of different holes that we need to fill, but Ben and Caleb are cooking together, the weapons are cooking, the offense is in flow, and we get a couple of wins that, set this culture, that's all you can ask for, man. And I'm happy with that. But, of course, we want to push for the playoffs every year. We're not going to accept mediocrity, but, you gotta be where our feet are. And if those things go down that way, I think you're happy going into the 2026 season. So just further continuing on with the relationship here between Caleb and Ben. Caleb and I have a great relationship right now, Ben says. I can't ask for anything better. I think he's wired the right way. I think he's getting better every single day he comes into the building. He's putting in the prep time that's necessary for us as an offense to put points up on the board. And I think we're going to continue to see him head in the right direction. Obviously, guys, this is incredibly important, just seeing that improvement from Caleb every single week. The stats speak for themselves. They're good, but they were also pretty good last year too, right? But the sacks and some of these weird mistakes, and it just felt like the offense was never really in structure. There's a fair share of problems with the offense, of course, that we've talked about, but every week Caleb's getting more comfortable. You kind of see him just seeing the field better. His footwork is awesome, and he is also tied for first in the league with Patrick Mahomes in sacks taken at 7. There's guys with a lot more, newsflash, already, and Caleb was in that position last year. And, taking 0 against the Cowboys was obviously a step in the right direction. Against the Raiders, he only took 1 when Max Crosby was ruining the entire game. And he's really improving in that way, right? Where your eyes are, where your feet are, where you're at in your progressions, when to evade the pocket, right? Caleb last year either, 1, wasn't confident in the offense and what he was seeing, and, the play calls coming in, so he would evade too quick, or he would evade the wrong way right into somebody. All of these things were things that he worked on in the offseason. He's continuing to work on now, and what Ben has drilled into him, and now it's really showing. I don't think he's going to take that many sacks this year overall. I said before the season, can you cut that sack amount that he took last year? Can you cut that almost in half or around that mark? Because that would be about league average to above average in today's game, putting you around the 30-something mark, right? Low to mid-30s in sacks. And that's about 1.5, 2 a game sometimes. And that's totally fine. That's totally normal, especially with the edge rushers we have in today's game. A lot of people get sacked 30, 35, 40, 45 times in a season. So I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see that with Caleb, and that is massive. And I think that has to do with the offensive line playing better, but also him and his comfortability. And then Ben Johnson really drilling that into him and getting that footwork corrected and everything like that. So Caleb and Ben, this relationship that's blossoming. Courtney Cronin's article just further reiterating that. And this is going to change the Bears and the trajectory of this team if this really, really gets locked in tight between these two, as it is looking that way now. Obviously, both of those guys are never going to settle for, mediocrity or ebbs and flows, things like that. They're always looking to get better no matter what happens. And, those two having that relationship together and kind of the same mindsets, like Ben said, they're kind of wired the same, and just being wired in a certain way, that goes a long, long way for a successful team. So this is massive, massive news for the Bears in this relationship and the whole team all together. So thank you again for tuning into Bears Digest. Just wanted to discuss this here today as we are on an off week. Bears play nobody this week, and we're going to prepare for the Commanders here very, very soon. So again, thank you guys for joining me, and as always, bear down.